Hey guys, it's Adam from Loose Pixel, and welcome back. It's been a long couple of weeks, and I've had a lot on my mind. Not in a bad way, nothing bad whatsoever, but you may notice I didn't post anything in a couple of weeks. It's been really busy. I got really heavily involved in a project, and it consumed all of my time and all of my energy. Add to that the fact that I had it was March break in Canada, so my kids were home. I was spending more time with them. So by the time it came time to sit down and produce my art talk, even though I had recorded it already, I was just completely burnt out. I just didn't have anything left in me. And I remember getting up at 5:30 in the morning to paint because it was the only time I could get any time to do something. And I spent 3 hours staring at my canvas. I drew something, I deleted it. I drew something, I deleted it. And then after 3 hours of that, I hung up my pen and I posted online and I said, guys, I'm so sorry. I've been overwhelmed. I've been over busy, and I just don't have the energy. I just couldn't do it, you know? And lo and behold, the most wonderful people on earth, I get these comments in return saying, we love you, take your time, no rush, we'll be here. And I thought, oh God, I love you guys. You're just so, what a sweet community you guys are. Just people in general are generally good, but you in particular, you guys are extra awesome. Totally unbiased opinion I have right there. And it got me thinking. It got me thinking about my life, my art, growing up, what it was like before social media and the way it is today. And this is something that's been on my mind a lot. And it's something that when I watch my kids on TikTok, when I watch a lot of content creators nowadays and the way that they act, particularly artists, content creators in general, but particularly artists, although artists are pretty good at avoiding this in most part, I find it starting to trickle into our community in a way that it's pissing me off. It's upsetting me because as a teacher and as an artist, there's something missing. There's something dying in the artistic community that unless we make a point of pointing a finger at it, there's a risk the damage could be permanent, or at least not entirely reversible. What am I talking about? If I go back 20 years, 25 years, well, shit, if I go back 40 years, because I'm 45 now, I remember when the first TVs came out. The first TVs that I remember, young age, were black and white, and the remote control was actually tethered to the TV. There was a wire connected to the TV, and then shortly thereafter they became color TVs, and then we had the flat panels and all that kind of shit. You know the drill. And at the beginning, when I was young, there wasn't a lot of TV to watch. There were very limited channels. And then cable, so there's more channels that came with cable, but then advertising was always a thing, but I remember it becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger thing. And it came to a certain point that advertising was just a punishment. it was just this kind of like 65% of my viewing time was spent watching these stupid, annoying, invasive commercials. And I had to patiently wait to see my show that I only got to see once a week. Usually it was Looney Tunes. I loved watching cartoons on the weekend. And then cable expanded, and then you had access to 200 channels, and every single channel was just advertising and more advertising and more advertising and more advertising. It was just to a certain point I was like, fuck's sakes, it's just too much, man. So the moment that YouTube came out and it became a thing, and especially at the beginning when there was less advertising on it, I immediately cut my cable. I was like, no loyalty. Bye. Take care. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That was my attitude towards cable TV. I was like, gone. And it's ironically they haven't learned their lesson because they keep doing it. But instead what's happened is, because advertisers knew that everybody's attention was starting to shift over to social media, they moved the money over to social media. Because shit, if I advertise on this TV channel, then maybe 100,000 people are going to see it. But if I post it on PewDiePie's video, I know that it has a potential to reach an audience of over 100 million people. That's unprecedented numbers. So of course they're going to flood over to that. But what they did as a result of it is they shifted their focus towards the platform and needed to adapt their philosophy not to professional paid TV companies. They started to shift their attention towards the individual, the content creator. They had to find a way to call the shots. Because when it came to TV companies, it was very direct. The TV company, they would have people who were in charge of advertising. They would have people who worked for TV companies who were responsible for communications. So the advertising company would speak directly with the communications department of a TV company or a video game company or whatever, and they'd say, okay, we want to put an ad on your show. We're going to give you this much. We need to have this content on your show, product placement, etc., etc. And that's how they that's how they helped direct shows and have actors wear products that help to solicit their product. So they are not speaking directly through me. But what they are doing is trying to, the best they can, speak through my views and, in essence, speak through my wallet. Because I monetize my videos, for now at least, most of them. So by doing so, if I have content that attracts a lot of attention, that seems to algorithmically trigger a certain percentage of viewers, if it gets more attention, if it gets more likes, if it has more view time, etc., the analytics, that bullshit, then I get more money. So they basically inadvertently are trying to control my content through money. And of course, I got a full-time job. I don't give a crap if I get 2 cents. YouTube, you can take your paycheck and you can shove it up your ass if you're listening. But that's the thing. For a lot of people who make a living out of social media and who are artists or content creators or photographers or videographers or, or product reviewers or people who do vlogs, these people become slaves to this advertising money because it's their living. If they don't do it, they don't pay their bills, right? So it can be pretty serious to them. So to a lot of people out there, social media, particularly if people are producing for social media, and don't fool yourself. If you're posting on Instagram, you're producing for social media. You are a content creator and you are aka an advertiser. Okay? That's what you are. Maybe not to yourself, but to Instagram you are, and to YouTube you are, and to TikTok you are. Absolutely. Okay? That's why your videos are getting views. That's why your videos are getting attention. It's because it's advertiser friendly. Okay? So what if I decided, I'm speaking hypothetically here, but you'll see where I'm going with this. What if at a certain point I just decided to just F-bomb my head off here? What if I just started to F this and F that and F this and F this, F these people and F that and blah, 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 and screw this and shit that and Whatever. What if I just started to lose my shit and just curse and swear and do whatever I wanted? My videos still get posted. Well, unless I say something really outlandish and then it gets pulled off, right? From violating terms and stuff like that. But I might get demonetized. My paycheck. They pull the plug. There you go. So, and it's not even done through an individual. It's algorithmically. I did a podcast with my friend Antonio a little while back, and we mentioned the name of a well-known philosophy teacher based in Toronto, who I won't say. And our podcast got pulled within 5 seconds of that name being mentioned, and we weren't even talking about anything controversial. We were just using him as reference to something. And our podcast got literally pulled algorithmically, like that. It was a real eye-opener that Big Brother is watching constantly. But here's the thing. I'm 45 years old. And I was raised in a world before YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, before any of these things were a thing. They didn't exist to me. So the most influential years of my life were, in most part, especially compared to today, were done in privacy. Privacy. When I grew up as an artist, when I would draw, I would sit in the back of a cafe, I would sketch people sitting there talking to each other, I would study people's body language. I always had a fascination with body language and how people would interact with each other. Or sometimes I would spend 2 months and I just didn't draw anything. I just didn't have it in me. I was tired. I was going through a shitty relationship. I was fighting with my girlfriend all the time. It was just a very toxic time in my life. And there were months, I'm being generous, 5, 6 months where I barely produced a thing. It was just a dry period in my life where I didn't do anything. But here's the thing. I was allowed to. I had permission to not produce anything. I was allowed to live my life. And one of the things, I've mentioned this before in the past on my channel, how I love to watch documentaries and raw footage of artists. Some artists I like more than others, but the thing I think I love watching the most is not just what they produce and their process. I find that very inspiring, but also their lifestyle. Like one of my favorite videos I've mentioned in the past is the day-to-day life diary, a short diary of Zdzisław Beksiński, the Polish artist. One of my biggest influences artistically. And it's a video of him. I remember there would be videos of him where he'd do these short clips of him painting. And today I got about 5 seconds of work done. And, today I got 4. And these 3 paintings ended up in the, quote, bin. Basically where he would temporarily or permanently trash a piece of artwork that he didn't feel was going in the right direction. And then it would cut over to, there's other videos, if you look online, of him having a chat with his wife in the kitchen about getting food stamps because it was during the time of communist Poland. Or talking about the fact that he was lucky to have a little bit more space in his studio because artists were allowed more space in Poland because they were artists. It was a special benefit of being an artist. But they weren't being entertaining. He wasn't doing it for an audience. He wasn't doing it for clicks. No, it was just him having a boring old conversation with his wife about food stamps. Just being boring old Polish man cooking eggs. And I swear to God, man, it's crazy how wonderful that is. Seeing a human being be a human. Because I swear to God, when I look at social media nowadays, especially when you look at things like TikTok and even YouTube, a lot of vloggers or artists and stuff like that, we have this toxic need to be entertainers all the time. Toxic need to be interesting and engaging all the time. But I didn't become the artist I am today. I didn't become the teacher and the father and the business owner that I am today by being entertaining all the time. I became the person I am today through living a very ordinary life and doing very ordinary things and every now and then having a good painting, sharing it with a couple of friends. Maybe not. A lot of the stuff nobody ever saw. Maybe the employer I put in my portfolio. Out of every one drawing that ended up in my portfolio, I had about 20 that ended up in a pile in some drawer somewhere. I had great experiences. I had crappy experiences. I impressed the pants off of some employers and clients and completely fucked up with others. Oh, crap. I just said the F word. Oh, well, I hope they don't demonetize me. I just said a human word with real feeling in it. I apologize. But I digress. One of the things I had, one of the most important tools I had at my disposal growing up, that tool you need to develop is a sense of privacy. You need privacy. People need privacy. Because if you're even aware of the fact that there's a camera around you, you become a different person. You put on a different face. And when you put on a different face, rest assured you're not being yourself. And if you're not being yourself, you're not discovering yourself. And if you're not discovering yourself, you'll never find that style you're chasing after. You'll never find that voice that you're trying to develop. What you're going to do is you're going to become a good advertiser. You've grown up in a world where you know that you're being watched all the time. I grew up in a world where I could be alone 24 hours a day if I wanted to. If I wanted to, I could be completely alone. I was under absolutely no obligation to impress anybody at any particular point in time. And I'll tell you something, that time was the time where I truly was being me. I was truly being myself. And my process of growth was a very normal, unremarkable human experience. That is what has occupied the majority of my life. So by the time I got into producing YouTube videos and stuff like that, and becoming somebody whose artwork and his message became public, I was coming from a very human place. And what I'm sharing with you today is coming from a very human place. And the fact that I got this warm, kind, thoughtful response from you when I said I just couldn't produce anything, I was too bloody tired, is testament to the fact that you are as human as I am, aren't you? Because when somebody communicates to you on a human level, you reciprocate in a human level. There is a place for social media, but it should not be an all-encompassing factor in your life. And the problem with artists in particular, the reason why I'm addressing this to artists, although this message extends to people across the globe, the reason I'm extending this to artists is because as artists, it is so crucially important that we discover ourselves. This is such an important facet of my life, and I've spoken about it in the past, that I'm going to get this tattooed on my body. But I want to get the quote in Latin words, know thyself. It's the quote that the Oracle, when in the Matrix, when Neo's leaving the Oracle's kitchen, he looks over the threshold of his door and there's Tenet Noske, I don't know how it's pronounced, on a plaque right over the threshold of her door. Which probably means yak balls or something, and I'm going to get that tattooed on my arm. Let's hope not. But that's what it says, right? And it says tenet noske or something like that, and means know thyself. To know thyself means to know yourself at your rawest, truest form. This is a lesson that I keep rediscovering time and time and time again. And the older I get, the more valuable that understanding becomes. Because it is so easy to lose sight of who you are as a person, as an artist, when you are so constantly reminded of what you can be, or what you should be, or what they are, and how they are more successful at being because they are like that, and that which you are not. And for God's sakes, you need permission to just be yourself. Now, where do I feel that social media is good, is a force for good? Well, for one thing, it can be a very good motivator to keep moving forward. As a YouTuber, I appreciate the accountability that comes with producing something, that you're expecting something from me. And this is why I was so preoccupied for 2 weeks, because I just didn't have the time or the energy to produce another art talk. I just didn't have it. And not to mention, I haven't produced a book review. I've got 4 books sitting here waiting to review. I've got the B-roll shot for everything. I haven't been able to sit down and find 2 seconds to review it. Plus I have a couple of companies that I'm dying to do some videos for. I'm accountable. So if I don't produce anything for a little while, then I feel like I'm letting you guys down. But here's the thing. I'm 45. I've already had 25, 30, 35 years even to find my voice, to live my life, to experience things, to have dry years and fruitful years, to have explosive growth and then have absolute stagnation. I've been through it all without ever feeling a stitch of guilt. This wonderful normalcy. So when I feel accountable, when I'm accountable for the videos I don't produce, it's not coming at the cost of my voice. It's not coming at the cost of my development. But maybe you're in a very different position than I am. And you're sitting there listening to me talking, listening to me expressing all these things to you, desperately trying to find that voice in yourself. And my advice to you is, it's a really important, necessary piece of advice. You gotta unplug once in a while. As a content creator, I know that YouTube is always watching. They're always listening. And that if I truly do want to, quote, succeed on a YouTube platform, then I have to follow the rules of the algorithm. Who controls that algorithm? YouTube? No. It's the people who are paying YouTube. Who pay YouTube? The advertisers. So the advertisers are speaking indirectly to me through YouTube. That's basically what it is. YouTube are not the ones who are controlling my content. YouTube is the conduit to the advertiser, to me. And if that algorithm decides to change, it can change, but I won't. Because if I've learned anything in my life, it's that in order to be myself, I have to get inside my little private little bubble, inside my little head, and I have to be myself. And it's at that very point that I turn my microphone on and I record this message to you when I'm in my most authentic state. So my recommendation to you is remember who you are. Remember that in your most unremarkable, uninteresting, unentertaining state, you're at your best. Not only as an individual, but as an artist. And if you can find love in that state, then you'll never be unhappy, in my humble opinion. And with that said, I love you all with all my heart, and happy painting. Take care.